Hey everyone, Reid Henrichs with Reid, and the purpose of today's video is to distinguish between rights and privileges. Oftentimes people fail to differentiate between the two, but there are vast differences. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about rights, we're going to talk about privileges, and we're going to talk about the way that we as American citizens should view rights and privileges, and also people around the world. Let's get started. First, let's address rights. First of all, your rights are God-given. And if you're an atheist, that's cool too, because they are given to you by virtue of your humanity. They're a part of you. They're a part of you the day and the moment that you are born. No human being can take them away. Nobody. No man-made law can violate them. And it's very important to understand this, that your rights cannot be taken away. You can only give them away. It's also important to understand this, that your rights, a right is something that does not come at the expense of other people. For example, it is not your right to health care. You don't tell a doctor that he or she must provide a surgery to you for free. That's not how it works. Services are not rights. Products are not rights. Your rights are inherent. They exist in nature. They exist and they would exist if there was no society. For example, your right to life. You have a right to defend yourself. Every animal on earth has a right to defend itself. You have a right to liberty, to pursue the course of life that you want to as long as it's not hurting anybody else. You have the right to reproduce. No one can tell you you are not allowed to have children. These are all God-given inherent rights. In fact, they're so important to us that our founding document, the Declaration of Independence, says that the purpose of government and the reason people institute governments amongst men are to secure their rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. You have a right to obtain and protect your property. These are all examples of rights. And at no time whatsoever do you need to ask permission to exercise any of them, nor enjoy any of them. And rights are so important that the first 10 amendments to our Constitution is known as the Bill of Rights. And they were seen as the most important rights that governments were designed to protect. And the Bill of Rights was a safeguard against the ambiguity of the Constitution at the time. So it's very important you understand that. Our rights are so important that you can see in our early form of Republican government that the main goal of government was to protect those rights. And in fact, most laws that were passed were designed to not only limit the size and also the scope of the federal government. And if you doubt any of this, read the Constitutional Convention notes by Mr. Yates. He'll elaborate on this one to a great detail and much more eloquently than I can speak of in a short video. Privileges, on the other hand, are conditional. So if you went to someone's home and it was their home and they owned it, you would have to ask permission to enter their home. They are granting you the privilege of entering into their home, which is their right, by the way. So when we think about all this stuff, we ask permission to exercise privileges. We ask permission to do certain things. Privileges are most certainly conditional. Another example of a privilege is that it is not equal. People do not exercise or enjoy equal privileges. They're absolutely conditional and they're preferential. For example, in the Middle Ages, if someone wanted to hunt animals on the feudal lord's land, that person had to ask permission from the nobility. He had to ask permission to hunt the king's deer or the baron's deer or whatever it was. They were not allowed to do those things. And I think that's the crux of rights versus privileges, is that you are allowed to do privileges. Folks, your rights are inherent. Privileges are absolutely conditional and dependent upon someone else granting you them. So let's do a quiz. Healthcare, right or privilege? If you were in nature, would you demand someone else treat you and that's your right? Yeah, I don't think so. You get your head bashed in with a rock. How about this one? Your right to defend yourself. Does an antelope ask permission to grow horns and protect itself from lions? Does the lion ask permission to protect itself with its fangs and claws? Absolutely not. It's a part of who the lion is. And an armed citizenry is a part of a free citizenry, and it is your right to defend yourself. Another question from the quiz. Do you have to ask permission to reproduce? Do you have to ask someone's permission if you can beget offspring? Would you have to do that in nature? Does any animal in nature have to do that? I don't think so. So to summarize here, folks, we don't ask permission to exercise our rights. Rights and privileges are vastly different. Let's not revert back ever again to the feudal society of privileges for some. Let's never revert back to the system where we must ask for permission to live our daily lives. This is Reid Henrichs with Valor Ridge reminding you the lessons that we learn are written on the tombstones of others. We'll see you on the ridge.